What really goes through a woman's mind when you start pulling away? Most men think she just moves on, loses interest, or replaces you overnight. But that's not the full story. And believing that is exactly why most guys end up confused, powerless, or begging for answers. The truth is, when you pull away the right way, you don't lose value, you create it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're a man who's tired of being confused about women, tired of doing everything right, and still being treated like an option, this is exactly where you need to be. Today, I'm going to break down what actually happens in her mind when you start to pull away, whether you're doing it on purpose or just emotionally exhausted from being taken for granted. This topic is powerful because it flips the usual script. You've been told that if you pull back, you'll lose her, that you have to chase, that you need to reassure her constantly. But here's the twist. Emotional distance doesn't always push a woman away. It pulls something unexpected out of her. Curiosity, doubt, reflection, and sometimes obsession. Women are far more sensitive to changes in your emotional availability than most men realize. They feel the shift before you even say a word. And when you start giving her less of your attention, her mind doesn't just go blank. It races. It replays conversations. It starts to wonder what she did wrong, who you're thinking about, and whether she's losing her grip on you. This video is not about playing games. It's about understanding a psychological truth. When you pull away, you create emotional tension. And that tension, when handled with control, triggers a reaction in her that most men never get to see, because they never stop chasing long enough to let it happen. Let's break it all down. 1. She thinks you found someone better. When you start pulling away, whether you stop texting as much, don't initiate conversations, or just seem less emotionally available, her mind doesn't just register, he's busy. No, it jumps straight to a dangerous place. He must be talking to someone else. This is one of the most powerful psychological triggers for women because it hits her on two deep levels: competition and rejection. You see, even if she wasn't fully invested yet, the moment you pull back, her ego and emotions start running wild. She starts imagining other women in your life. Is there someone new? Is she prettier? Does she give you something she didn't? And the more she doesn't know what's going on with you, the more her mind fills in the blanks, with worst-case scenarios. This happens especially when a woman feels like she had your attention locked in before. Maybe you were giving her time, complimenting her, showing interest. She felt chosen. Now suddenly you're distant, you're quiet. She no longer knows where she stands, and that lack of clarity makes her spiral into imagining you with someone else. What makes this even more powerful is how it challenges her sense of being special. Most women are used to being chased. They're used to being the center of attention. So when a man she was emotionally depending on suddenly becomes emotionally unavailable, it forces her to question what she thought was secure. Here's what this looks like in real life. Let's say you were texting her every day. Things felt exciting. She responded with energy. But then you stop. Maybe you're just busy, or maybe you noticed she was getting too comfortable and you're resetting the dynamic. A few days pass. You don't reach out. Now she's checking your Instagram story views, scanning your follower list, trying to decode who that girl is that liked your recent post. Even if she doesn't say a word, in her mind, she's comparing herself to an imaginary other woman. That image of someone replacing her, without warning, hits hard. And the irony is, this might be the first time she realizes how much she actually liked you. The fear of being replaced often creates more emotional attachment than being pursued ever could. The moment she thinks you found someone better, she starts thinking about how to win your attention back. She might post something sexy. She might text something random just to reopen the conversation. Or she might say nothing, trying to play it cool, while losing her mind internally. Pulling away, when done with confidence and purpose, doesn't just create space, it creates curiosity. It makes her wonder. And nothing pulls a woman in like the fear that she's being outshined by someone else. 2. Her ego takes a hit. Let's talk about something most guys don't realize. Pulling away doesn't just confuse a woman emotionally, it shakes her ego. Hard. Women aren't used to being ignored, especially not by a man who was once giving them attention. So when you start pulling back, it's not just about missing your texts or your time. It's about what that says about her, her desirability, her power, her grip on you. And when that grip starts slipping, her ego doesn't stay quiet. It screams. Even if she acts cool on the outside, internally she's asking herself, wait, why isn't he chasing me anymore? That question alone triggers a deep insecurity, because women are conditioned to believe that if a man wants you, he'll pursue you endlessly. The moment that pursuit slows down, she starts thinking it's a sign that something's wrong with her. She might start wondering if she's not attractive enough, not interesting enough, not valuable enough to keep your attention. And the irony here is, this reaction isn't always tied to how much she actually likes you. It's often tied to how much she liked being desired by you. That attention validated her. It reminded her she was in control. that she had options, that she was desirable. So when you take that validation away, even if it's subtle, it hits where it hurts most, the ego. This is why pulling away doesn't just affect her emotions, it affects her sense of self, her identity, the way she sees herself in the mirror. When a man who once made her feel like the prize starts acting like he's not impressed anymore, it forces her to question whether she's still the prize at all, and that's not something most women want to face. Think about it. How many women are used to getting attention from men constantly? Likes, messages, compliments, it's always coming. So when a guy who seemed interested suddenly steps back, she doesn't just feel rejected, she feels offended. Almost like, how dare he? This is where things start to get interesting, because when a woman's ego takes a hit, she doesn't always respond rationally. She might pretend not to care. She might act colder than usual. She might even try to flip the script and make it seem like you were never good enough for her. But behind all that behavior is a bruised sense of pride. She needs to restore it. She needs to feel powerful again. And that usually leads to her trying to reclaim the control she lost when you pulled away. Not because she misses your soul, but because she misses how it felt to be the one in charge. That's the part most men never see, because they rush back in the moment she shows a little interest again. But the real power is in not flinching. Let her ego feel the loss. Let her wonder. Because in that space, something shifts, and not in your favor, but hers. 3. She starts stalking you silently. Now here's what a lot of men don't realize. When you pull away, she doesn't always chase you directly. Instead, she watches, quietly, obsessively. She becomes your biggest fan and your most confused observer at the same time. Women are masters at silent surveillance. They won't always reach out. They won't always double text. But best believe they're checking, watching, looking for signs. Not because they want to reconnect, but because they want to understand. They want to decode you, and they want to know why their influence over you suddenly disappeared. This silent stalking doesn't come from logic. It comes from emotional uncertainty. When you stop giving her the same energy you used to, she's not just annoyed, she's curious. She needs answers, but she doesn't want to ask. She wants to appear unbothered, but at the same time, she needs to see what you're doing, who you're talking to, how you're behaving without her in the picture. So what does she do? She checks your stories, refreshes your profile, scrolls through your recent activity. She notices if you're online, but not replying to her. She pays attention to what you post, how often you're active, who you're seen with, what your energy says, even through the screen. And here's the wild part. She'll never admit this. She'll play it cool. She'll act like she's busy, unbothered, even over it. But internally, she's creating stories about what your silence means. That's why the stalking begins. Not because she needs you back, but because she's trying to regain understanding and control. When a man suddenly becomes emotionally distant, women don't sit still. They monitor. They calculate. They look for any hint that tells them whether they're being replaced, forgotten, or tested. And the longer you stay silent, the more intense this observation gets. You might think she's moved on, but behind the scenes, she's more focused on you than ever. Not in love, not necessarily emotional, but hyper-aware. Every post, every silence, every like becomes part of the story she's writing in her head. This behavior is rooted in a fear of losing value. If she used to have your attention, and now she doesn't, she needs to understand why. Not because she needs closure, but because your silence threatens her sense of emotional dominance. It bothers her to not be in the loop. It bothers her that she's not the one holding your focus anymore. And what's most important to understand as a man is this. Silence is louder than attention. Your absence creates a bigger emotional wave than any text you could send. And in that wave, she's not just wondering what you're doing, she's watching to find out. 4. She questions her own value. When you pull away, something deep happens inside her, something most men don't see. She doesn't just question you, she starts questioning herself. Women naturally tie a lot of their value to how a man reacts to them, especially one they feel a connection with. So when you pull back, her mind immediately begins to scan for answers. And not just about what you're doing or feeling, but about what she might have done wrong. It sounds subtle, but it hits her identity. She starts thinking, was I not good enough? Did I lose his interest? Did I say something that made him pull away? This self-doubt can creep in fast, and the reason it's so powerful is because it's silent. She won't always say it out loud. She might still act confident, but underneath it, she's no longer certain that she has the same effect on you she thought she had. That loss of certainty is a direct hit to her value in her own eyes. Because whether women admit it or not, part of how they measure their desirability is by how much influence they have over a man they like. When that influence disappears, they don't just miss the attention. They start wondering if something about them is lacking. This is where the shift really happens. The same woman who seemed confident, unshakable, maybe even a little entitled, now feels unstable. Not because of anything you said, but because your lack of effort speaks louder than any words. And what it communicates to her, whether true or not, is that she wasn't enough to keep your interest. That stings more than most men realize. It's not just rejection, it's reflection. She starts replaying how she acted, what she said, how she looked, how she responded to you. And the more time passes without clarity or reassurance from you, the deeper that questioning goes. It becomes personal. And here's the thing, you don't have to say a single negative word to create this effect. Your distance alone can force her to look inward. Not always in a healthy way, but in a way that makes her confront her own value. And that's something women usually try to avoid at all costs. They prefer to believe they're in control, that they're the prize, that they can always walk away and still feel like the winner. But when you pull away with calm confidence, it doesn't just interrupt that narrative, it flips it. You stop being the one who's proving your worth, and she starts questioning hers. That's when everything changes. And the moment she starts questioning her value, silently, internally, you have far more power than most men even recognize. 5. She tries to regain control. Once your silence starts getting to her, once the doubt, confusion, and emotional discomfort set in, she won't just sit with it. She'll start looking for ways to take back control of the situation. Women don't like feeling powerless in relationships. And when you pull away, that's exactly how it makes her feel. Like she no longer has influence over your mind, your attention, or your emotions. That loss of control doesn't sit well with her. It throws off her balance. It disrupts the image she has of herself, the woman who was once in charge of how you felt. So what does she do? She starts trying to pull you back in, but not always in obvious ways. Sometimes it's subtle. A random text, a post that seems aimed at getting your attention, a question that sounds casual but is really a check-in. She may not come out and say, "I miss you," but her actions start giving off that energy. She wants to see if you still respond, if she can still move you. And it's not always about emotion, it's often about control. She wants to be the one who decides when things end or continue. When she feels that power slipping, she gets uncomfortable. That's when she'll start testing the waters to see if she still has access to you. Here's what that looks like in real life. Let's say you've been quiet for a few days. No calls, no messages. You're focused on yourself. Out of nowhere, she sends something simple. Maybe a meme, maybe a "hey stranger," maybe a comment on something random you posted. It might seem harmless, but it's not just a casual message. It's a probe. She's seeing if you'll bite, if you still care, if she can still pull you back into the space where she feels secure again. The moment you respond, she knows where you stand. That response gives her feedback. Okay, he's still emotionally available, he's still reachable. And once she confirms that, her anxiety drops. She feels like she's back in the driver's seat, back in control. That's what a lot of men miss. They see that message and assume it means she wants them back, that she's finally realizing their value. But often, it's not about you at all. It's about her needing to feel like she's still in control of how the story ends. When you pull away, you take that control away. And that's exactly why she'll try to pull some of it back, even if it means reaching out in ways that seem innocent. It's not always love. Sometimes it's pride. And the man who understands this doesn't overreact. He sees the test for what it is, and he doesn't rush to make her feel comfortable again.